Had an interesting dream last night, which I won't tell you about, but suffice it to say that I really enjoy dreams. Um, have always. And I think part of the reason why I really like dreams is because they're usually kind of mysterious. And my biggest love in life has always been trying to understand things that I don't understand already. Anything, doesn't matter what. And dreams are always kind of like a little mystery that's handed to you on a platter. So anybody who just can't stop theorizing, trying to figure out things, dreams are great. Um, anyway, I had a dream a few days ago that I thought I would tell you. That's just so good. Every once in a while, I have in my life, I have a dream that kind of sums up my life to that point. Um, and it's usually really colorful, really real, more so than others, to the point where you cannot forget it practically. Or I, I wake up from it knowing that I got to remember this even while I'm dreaming it, and memorize it like crazy when I wake up. And they always turn out to be those really astonishing dreams always turn out to be, when you analyze them, uh, sort of encapsulating of your whole problem of your life at that time, and your whole kind of like essence of your life at that time. A good example, the best one I can remember going back a few years, was when I was about halfway to this point through my social organizing adventure. And now it's been 4 years. This is the 4th season of London Open Mic Poetry Night, which I started out to try and get rid of my shyness by confronting my fears of people, being a social organizer. And it worked. So all the dreams I've had all my life, most of them, well, growing up in the country, there's very few people, and I guess it kind of started, and then being shy, there's very few people in the dreams. People in my real life, in the life of any real shy person, are mostly held at a distance. They're kind of observed, and the life of the shy person really takes place inside the castle of their skull, or a space around not too far away, and they live inside that safe area. And even though they may be living with people, they may have lots of friends, they may seem to be social to other people, to them, to their soul, those people are not really as real as they could be. If they're really that real, they would be too scary. So so all my dreams all my life, there have been very few people in them, mostly like symbolic environments going through situations. And whenever a person would show up in one, they'd either be somebody that I'd be afraid of, or they'd be symbolizing something. Their faces are usually really weird. I remember analyzing one dream with a older woman in it when I was young, and figuring out that, oh, that was my mother, and thinking, my God, she didn't look anything like my mother. She looked really like strange and practically alien. And so the people in all my dreams have been like that until about 2 years ago. I woke up with one totally astonishing dream. I was walking through a restaurant, a big restaurant, a lot of tables, beautiful restaurant, and every table was filled had people sitting in all the chairs. And these people were so real, so detailed, and just normal. No weirdness to them, no kind of scary feeling. All talking to each other, carrying on with conversations. Very realistic. I'd be walking and I'd hear a little bit of a conversation and see a situation happening at another table with 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 people. Laughter, lots of laughter, but real laughter. Everything about it was real. There was their clothes. Everybody was dressed the way they would dress that person. And it was just so astonishingly beautiful. And I woke up and I thought, my God, my life has changed. I am now a social person. Inside, deep inside where my subconscious lives, I have become a social person. Doesn't mean I don't have any fears anymore, but somehow my subconscious is living a different life. And every dream after that has had people in them. Not lots like that one, but some or one, and they're always real people. They're never any aliens anymore. And little social situations or symbolic situations, just as I did earlier, but working them out with real people or real people as part of the symbols. Anyway, I have a dream to tell you about that I had. Another one's astonishing dream to me. This was a few days ago. I was hanging from a rope, a thick, heavy rope, hanging on for dear life, coming from out of the sky somewhere. And as the dream began, my hands were getting tired. I was getting to the point of fear that I wouldn't be able to hang on any longer. And I looked down, and it's a dark water underneath me. Roiling water, heavily roiling, like it's full of some huge creatures or monsters or something, or just tremendous energy inside, down in the depths of that water. And of course, I hanging on all the harder seeing that. And then I looked off into the distance, and there were hills beyond the shore, quite far away. And I looked to my right, and there were 3 or 4 other ropes hanging from out of the sky with people hanging on the ends of them, and the ropes kind of drifting over the roiling waters. And finally I started to panic. I knew I couldn't hang on any longer. I was going to fall. And I shouted suddenly, "Can anybody help me here?" And as soon as I did that, a big guy in a uniform stepped around from behind me and put his arm around my body and lifted me off the rope and set me down in the water, 1 foot deep, still roiling. And I was astonished that it was only a foot deep. And I looked around, and over there at the shore, the sand dunes, and so I sloshed through the water to the shore and walked up on the sand, and there was a vehicle waiting there, and somebody standing outside it said, "Would you like a ride?" And I said, "No, I'll walk." And I woke up. So obviously the lake of fear was symbolic of, all my fears, and the most obvious thing about it is that my fears were exaggerated. There weren't any sea creatures. It wasn't a deep thing. It was only a foot deep. No need to panic. It was only a foot below me and not, like half a mile. And so who was the guy with the uniform? Well, obviously this was his job, to rescue me, or to show me, not to rescue me, but to show me that there was no problem, that it was all exaggerated. And so you could say, well, this would be a psychiatrist or, counselor, any helping professions. But I've never been to a psychiatrist or anybody like that. So it doesn't really make sense for me, but it was my dream. My father was, being a blind farmer, his whole life was just determination to do it himself, to do everything himself, to figure out how, and to go. So I learned that from him, and never would have ever occurred to me to try to ask somebody else for help with my emotional life. I mean, that on farms you don't have an emotional life, you only have a practical life. And that I sort of carried that through, even though I dwelled on it inside and analyzed it to death. I still could not ask anybody for help. And so of course I went on these big adventures that were meant to try and strengthen me up, and but they were all solo, like going by myself. I'm not encountering my fears, I'm just being the same person, but feeling stronger in doing the same old stuff. And until I retired from our flower shop and have all this time, and I decided then obviously that hadn't worked, so I've got to do it differently and encounter my fears. So I became a social organizer, and now we're in our 4th year, and every month I dangle myself on that rope over that lake of fear. I go up to the front of the room full of 40 or 50 people and introduce the event, and over the 4 years I've gotten a little easier at it. I've realized they're not going to jump me or attack me or not even judge me harshly. They're you know, there's only one or two people who have really disliked me over that whole time, and the people keep coming back to the open mic every month. It just keeps going, and my soul has found out that, you know, my fears are exaggerated. So who's the guy in the uniform? It's myself, doing my own self-therapy. I'm the guy hanging from the rope, and I'm the guy who tells myself my fears are exaggerated. And so then when I walk to shore, sloshing through the water, I'm leaving my lake of fear behind. And I walk up on the sand, and the guy says, do you want to ride? Well, it took me a day or two to figure that out, but I've had lots of dreams with vehicles, me in them, and over my lifetime, and the books, the dream books, they say, and it seems to work out. It always does in my case anyway, that a vehicle represents your life path, sort of thing, and where you sit in it symbolizes who's in control. If you're in the passenger seat, somebody else is driving. If you're in the back seat, you don't have any control over it. And of course, if you're driving, you're in control. The question is, what happens to the car? Where does it go in that case? But in this case, the car is there waiting for me to carry on my life. But I guess you could say I don't know where I want to go now. My whole life has been one of fear of people, and now that's ending, so I just walk. I've done lots of walking in my life. I'm used to it. I'm good at it.